Hello everyone, welcome back and happy holidays. I'm finally here with my post-batch recap and review video. I apologize for taking so long. Um, there was a whole series of events. I had finals, I was sick, I was traveling, but hey, I'm able to get this video out at least before Christmas. So yeah, happy holidays to everyone. We had a good batch. So let's just go over what happened and how I and you guys feel about it. So I'm going to give a quick condensed summary of the chapters here. Check my individual videos for more details. I'm excluding some less immediately relevant things. But we start with Longyi revealing that she's Beyond's daughter and that many people are Beyond's kids, including one of the princes. Most of Beyond's kids, herself included, are meant to die and curse princes who aren't Beyond's child, so his child will win and would be controlled by him, and he can control the monarchy through the son or daughter. Longi makes a contract with Kurapika to find Beyond's kid who she wants to kill. We're pretty sure Kurapika agrees to work with her, but at the very least we know he's working with Tubeppa. Beyond wants to talk to someone, but we don't see who throughout the batch. Meanwhile, Kaiser, Nencho, and Melody suspect Losers is responsible for Fugetsu's condition and plan to kill him in the upcoming days. For that plan, Fugetsu goes around delivering letters to every prince. Some are generic, but some include relevant information about the other princes. Later on, we find out that some of the information includes Haukenberg being Unma's son and Benjamin having a child of his own. Bosamilko attempts to assassinate Haukenberg, but Haukenberg uses his ability on him. Haukenberg inhabits Bosamilko's body, kills his own body with Bosamilko's virus, and intends to use a funeral procession to get close to Benjamin or gather strength. Meanwhile, Sirainet continues training with impressive results. He's lowering his Zetsu time by a considerable amount. Kurapika helps Zhonglei figure out his coins and worries that a mafia prince dying could create a mafia war and therefore have martial law break out. And Kurapika seems to have a clue as to ending the succession war, but we don't learn the full extent of his plans. We also see Hisoka, the real Hisoka, in Tier 1 for the first time this arc, currently working at a casino. The Hisoka we saw in the previous batch was Banalanov disguised with his ability. He killed Lynch after she found out he was pretending to be Hisoka. He's worried he might have started a greater conflict between the Mafia families, and also notes how he hopes this will be the troops' last major operation. He wants kind of Krello to take off the mask, so to speak. Marina's group, the Haley family, continues to grow in strength. We find out Kenny is on her side, and she tasks Dogman with finding a specialist. Nobunaga remains in Tier 3 to confront Haley members posing as waste subcontractors, or maybe it's a lower tier, but he's going on his own, while Phaeton and Finks head to the Haley lair. Henry and Zakura are determined to avenge Lynch regardless of who killed her. Meanwhile, Krello reflects on how to upgrade his ability, Skill Thief, or Skill Hunter, depending on the translation, which will require him stealing Kakin's three great treasures. He seems willing to die to get his revenge on Hisoka. He's using a stolen phone-like ability to find someone and ends up discovering his targets is on an upper tier. Meanwhile, Borkson is kidnapped by the Haley during Hulkenberg's funeral procession. We find out that she's a specialist and that Dogman was able to sniff her out using his ability. Marina and Borkson engage in a negotiation card game. You learn more about Marina's goal and backstory, her dedication to her goal, some more information about specialists, and how she needs a specialist to help complete her plans. We don't know why exactly, presumably a specialist can design an ability that will help her do something. Martial law is declared during the game, but Borkson and Marina proceed. The game ultimately ends with Borkson choosing to join Marina instead of dying after cheating during the card game. She's given the choice between joining or dying, and she chooses the former. She's now part of Haley, though she still imposes Marina's plans, at least as far as we're aware. Lastly, we learn that Benjamin declared martial law after being poisoned, supposedly by Hulkenberg, though we don't see the specifics just yet. He does not have much time left to live, around 12 hours at the least, 24 hours at the most, and he hopes to wipe out the other princes in time for his child to rise to the throne. He's held most of the princes hostage, but is looking for the last few who have escaped, and that's where we end the batch. So, just some thematic keystones of the batch of these last 10 chapters. Some of you might recognize this painting from 383, Saturn eating his son. We talked a lot about conviction. What are people willing to die for their goals? We saw this with Halkenberg, literally killing his body. Long he determined to kill Beyond's child. Morena, her conversation with Borkson where she says she won't give up no matter what. Benjamin committing to his goals even after being poisoned, and so on. We also see all the family dynamics in the earlier chapters, such as the letter circuit, with Fugetsu kind of going around meeting her siblings or encountering her siblings. Halkenberg and Benjamin exchanging some respect for one another. Reina's kind of second family through the Haley, and so on. Also, a lot of themes of respect, like Halkenberg and Benjamin again. The respect Marina extends to Borkson. Kurapika's relationship with the princes, such as Zhonglei or Oito. Lastly, Masquerade's performances, I think maybe one of the biggest themes this arc. I think convictions and performances are the biggest themes of these last 10 chapters. Because we thought this with Halkenberg and Balsamilko's body, Krillo, Susad, Benalda pretending to be Hisoka, Morina's kind of um, kinder front for herself, and just so many more examples of kind of Masquerade's performances in this batch. Now these are the MVPs of the batch, and you might be wondering how I rate these. It's not based on like how strong they are or or how much they succeeded, more so how relevant they were to the story and how much development I feel like they got. So Longhee and Beyond are two obvious examples. We got a lot of character development for Longhee directly and Beyond indirectly, and I mean Longhee went from a nobody to being a pretty important character going forward. And of course, we learn more about Beyond's plans and that no, he isn't just going to be relevant in the Dark Continent arc. He has plans of his own right now. Kaiser had a lot of screen time this batch. Um, we were really getting into the mystery of who he is and what he might be trying to do. Is he manipulated? Is he manipulating himself? Is he working for someone? We don't know. But he had some good moments, and we're trying to keep it. I want to try to keep an eye on him. Benjamin and Halkenberg are two great examples. Halkenberg's probably my overall MVP of the batch. Um, it's a lot of character development for both. Benjamin showing his human side a few more times, and Benjamin reckoning with the fact that he'll die soon. And then the steps Halkenberg will go to win, such as sacrificing his physical body. It's all great stuff. Banal Nav had a lot of character development. I've always loved Banal Nav, but I'll be honest and say he hasn't had a ton of relative character development looking at the rest of the troop. But we got to know a decent amount about him through 405 and also just how he feels about Krello. Speaking of Crowley, this is a very, very good batch for him. I mean, this arc in general has been great for him with the flashback and now this. Um, I chose this image because it's really just well drawn. But of course, that idea of his facade, of what's going on with him and Liz North, and how kind of the media portrayed Liz North as a hero, um, and then just his determination to kill Hisoka at any cost. Reina was I would say Marina Corello or Marina and Haugenberg and maybe Corello were like the biggest characters of this batch for me. Marina's just backstory, her motivations, her demeanor around Borkson is just I mean, I think from between like the last few chapters I had like at least 2 slides just covering Marina as a character on her own because she's that interesting and she's got a ton of character development. We know so much more about her now than we did before. Borkson, we also learned a lot about her kind of perspective as like this layman, this common man, in such a weird and supernatural situation. Um, and even though she cheated, I think why she did so is understandable. Now, so you have Balsamico, Balsamilko, whatever translation you use. People might be calling him like a fraud or whatever because Halkenberg uses ability on him, but still, I think his plan was good, and I think that we got more insight into like his planning, his kind of planning, methodical nature. And even though he ended up failing in his quest to kill Halkenberg, he'll be very, very important going forward, especially considering that he's still alive. So if he manages to regain control from Halkenberg somehow, that might be worth looking into. And some honorable mentions: Basho for helping out Fugetsu, finally did something. Zhonglei had a lot of funny moments with his coins, but also I like the kind of conversation he has with Kurapika where he establishes that they're not equals. And then Dogman, of course, he's just hilarious, but he actually saw his ability and the fact that he like loves Krollo for being an MMA fighter is also really fun too. So let's talk about chapter rankings. First, we'll start with mine. This is a rough ranking. So as you can see, 404 and 403, the Boss Milko and Helgenberg chapters are my favorites. I mean, part of it is just because I love Helgenberg as a character, but also just the paneling here when Balsamilko gets kind of defeated by Helgenberg, and then his plan to kind of possess. Balsamilko, and then in 404 just killing his own body. I love this panel too, but Hulkenberg killing his own body, Kurapika kind of discovering what Benjamin might be doing with the mafia families, seeing all the princes again, seeing Leorio show up. 404 is my favorite. I do have the negotiation card game chapters lower. I still think they're great chapters. Just comparatively, a lot of it was exposition and a lot of it was kind of random Barks and talking, which again is was great stuff, especially 408, which I think is a very good chapter in particular among the three. But I think these chapters are more set up, while these other chapters had more reveals and more things going on. But all 10 chapters I was happy with. I have no real complaints with the batch outside of I wish that it kept going, but you know, that's wishful thinking. Now, these are some very shoddily cropped images. I couldn't do a poll of the top of all 10, so I just split it up, but let's look at what chapters are most popular among you guys. So, we see in this group, 401 and 404 seem to be the most popular, and I can definitely get that. 401 starting off the batch with a bang, with a lot of reveals with Beyond and Longhee and Longhee's plan. I had that at number 4 for myself. Um, yeah, just in general, I can see why this is the most popular one. It had the most going on, or the most kind of the biggest reveals that make you go, oh shit, like things are really heating up now. And then of course 404 is pretty popular. 402 is very unpopular, it seems, 3%, which is a bit surprising. I thought it was a pretty good chapter. I mean, it is my least favorite of these four, but I thought it was a good chapter with a lot of kind of going to see all the princes again, seeing Saraynek after like 6 years, seeing Rihan after 6 years, right? But I could see why it's the least popular. Looking at the second group, it seems that 405 is very popular, which surprised me. I thought it would be 406 because it has a few spreads. But I can see 405 being popular. I love Banana Knob, but I can also see people liking it because it has Hisoka showing up again. And it is the only chapter to, I guess, kill off a character in Lynch of this batch, to kill off like at least a named important character. 406 did pretty well too. 408 a little bit less well. 407 is pretty low. It's also my bottom one. I think it's just because it's set up. Not a weak chapter by any means, but 4, 5, 6, and 8 each have more going on. And then in the last kind of group, we see that 410 kind of dominates 409, which I also agree with, and I can also see because 409 is a lot less eventful of a chapter. It's the end of the card game, but 410 is the payoff with Borkson joining Morena and seeing Benjamin dying and all that other stuff. So obviously, unfortunately this isn't a ranking of every chapter like against each other, but from what you guys seem to suggest, 401, we can say 404, 405, and 410 are the most popular chapters this batch. And yeah, they're all my top. They're all my top. Well, except for 405, but I mean it's generally indicative of my feelings on the batch. Now let's talk about what's next. I think Togashi's working on the volume release right now, hence all these kind of reference images that feel like volume extras. So he's been working on these, like these are all of Falkenberg's kind of guards. And I feel like this is usually something you see in a volume release. So he's probably working on volume 39 right now. Um, it's probably gonna be like Killua on the cover. I'm gonna be honest, but it would be awesome to see like Halkenberg, or maybe he might do Marina again. We know Togashi loves Marina, but I'm looking forward to the volume release. He's already talked about a few things that are being changed, like on his Twitter he said like one of the rooms in 410 are the wrong number, so that'll be changed in the volume release. So we know he's working on that, which is good that he's because that usually signals him working on the volume release usually signals that we're gonna go off hiatus relatively soon. Yeah, and he's storyboarding 50 chapters. Right now, the plan is he's kind of plotting out the next 50 or so chapters. Um, Probably all going to be the Succession War. I don't think it's going to end in 50. I mean, it might end in 50 chapters. I think I'll still be going on. Maybe it'll end by the end of these 50 chapters. But right now, he's plotting them out, and then he'll go back to keep drawing. So I think this will be a relatively short hiatus. In the meantime, I think it's always good to reread not just the last 10 chapters, but the arc in general, especially if you haven't read them, if you haven't read the arc in a couple years or something. Good to catch up on some details, refresh yourself on what other things might be going on. Maybe make a tier list if that's your thing. But yeah, and then lastly, my video plans. Right now I'm on break. I have a lot of stuff going on. I have a lot of like vacation plans and other work plans. I'll see what I could do. I'll try to make a video if I can, but I don't want to promise like a specific time or a specific topic. But I know at the very least that if Togashi comes back with more chapters, I'll be back as well. But yeah, thank you all, especially if you've been here since chapter 401 for sticking with these videos. Um, I'm glad to see that I have somewhat of a viewer base right now. My goal is never to be popular. I don't want to be a big YouTuber. This is more of like a kind of hobby for me where it's like, okay, I love Hunter x Hunter. I love talking about it. Let's make some videos. But I appreciate that there are a few people that I see every week coming back. And yeah, it means a lot. And regardless of if I make a video when the batch comes out or before then, know that I'll still be following Hunter x Hunter and I'll still be around. So, yeah, thank you all for watching, and once again, have a happy holiday season, regardless of if you celebrate Christmas or not. Try to get some rest if possible, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, thank you.